Earlier this year, an indie gem came out as Blazing Chrome. It provided a very similar experience to the beloved Contra games. In many ways, it felt like the indie developer wanted to pay tribute to that series while also providing the community with a new Contra-like game. Konami does not seem to understand what their fans want, and there's a disconnect there. We even see this with the recent release of Bloodstain. Fans wanted more Castlevania titles, but Konami wouldn't make them, and it seems like this Contra series is in the same situation. And this is one of the reasons why I love the indie games community. They tend to see holes in the market, and they're able to fill them with experiences that players want. Blazing Chrome delivered a quality experience that felt very much like a classic Contra game, and it had a solid soundtrack as well. That 80s infused action is always something that I really enjoy, especially within games and in movies, which is why I was interested to try Valfaris, as it was going for a similar approach in having an action-heavy side-scrolling shooting gameplay. The visuals and music looked like they were in the right place, and it caught my eye. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my review for Valfaris. Valfaris is a new side-scrolling action game that focuses on relentless action and gory results. Valfaris knows how to get to the point and make a good first impression. The game gives you a brief tutorial about your moveset and then you're off. You have your few weapons at your disposal. You start off with a sword for your melee attacks. These are great to use when enemies get too close and you're at risk of being hit. Then in your other hand is your handgun for ranged attacks. In addition to all of this, you also carry another weapon that uses your energy bar. These weapons are stronger than your normal weapons and they'll help you out when you're in a pinch. The energy bar is also used for your shield. As long as you have energy, you can put up a shield that will absorb incoming attacks. If you time it right, you can also catch an enemy's projectile and shoot it right back at them. You have to learn the timing of enemies' attacks, and it can be a bit risky while also being really cool to pull off. There's a nice variety of weapons, like different handguns, a flamethrower, a chain gun, different melee weapons. There's plenty of weapon variety for you to choose from. The action itself is really great. It's over the top and very violent. The shooting has some nice results as enemies will blow up into chunks and some of their body parts will even blow off. My favorite is where the top half is completely gone and the legs just keep walking. For the most part, the levels do move in a linear fashion. As you proceed throughout the levels, you will find idols. These things will allow you to create checkpoints for yourself at different stations. This way, when you die, you are not sent back that far, but there is a nice trade-off with this. The more idols you have and hold, the more health you have. There's a nice risk and reward feature with this. Do you choose to try to hold as many idols as you can so you can have the greatest amount of health? Or do you sacrifice some health so that you can set up a checkpoint, and if you die, you don't have to go back too far? You will find yourself figuring out which one to do when you're in each level. Sometimes I felt like I was getting a nice handle on the level, and I chose to not create a checkpoint. And then I ended up against a boss that killed me, so I had to repeat some of the same areas over again. The idols can also be used to trade them in for upgrade items to help better your guns. I was happy and surprised with this idol system, as it provided some thought to the gameplay that I initially did not expect. The levels are pretty linear, but what I did like is that there are some secrets for you to find, and they provide you with additional idols or upgrades for your guns. Like I said before, the levels move in a very forward path. The game provides a lot of expected shooting that you would want from a title like this, but it also provides some different situations to keep the action good. You may find yourself in a small arena where you cannot escape until all the enemies are dead. Sometimes you need to defeat a certain number of foes until a mini boss appears. A really fun one was when the game wanted you to stay on a hovercraft and to try to keep up with it as it took you throughout the level. This was really enjoyable as you needed to find the most efficient way to defeat your enemies that got in your path so you could keep up with the hovercraft. Then you have your situations where a deadly substance is coming from the ground and you need to move as fast as possible so you won't die. My personal favorite are some of the infinite energy sequences because they're really empowering. The levels do bring some nice enemy variety and visual change to them, which really keeps your interest. In the first level, you fight a lot of foes that are focused on range-based combat, while in the second level, you fight many of them that try to melee you. You never really know what you're going up against with each new level and what type of enemies will be there. And as expected, there are fun and challenging boss fights. The boss fights do range from being manageable to being really hard. What I did appreciate was how you needed to sometimes learn their ins and outs to beat them. In many cases, I would die a lot to a boss and would feel like it was impossible, until I saw that opening that I didn't see before. When this happens, many of the fights can get a lot more manageable. It is satisfying to learn these moments when to attack. I do want to mention that this game is really tough. There are plenty of checkpoints if you choose to use them, but you're gonna die a lot. I think Contra veterans will be at home here, and maybe with their experience in the Contra games, they might find this game to be a little bit easier than I did. But non-Contra skilled players are gonna be in for a fight. I don't really have any flaws with this game, other than to make sure to know that this game is tough before you go into it. But I really wouldn't call that a negative. I do think it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not include a separate co-op mode of some kind. I think a mini co-op campaign or even a co-op horde mode would have worked well here. You could have a lot of variety with the different levels and see how long you can survive with a friend. In between waves, you can upgrade and even earn different weapons. This could have added some nice replay value to the game. The soundtrack is a great piece of presentation. Like the whole game, it feels straight out of the 80s and it brings the game up a few levels. Here are a few tracks from the game. Overall, Valfaris is a solid side-scrolling shooting experience. The weapons are great to use, and I enjoyed trying to find all these different secret areas within the levels. I love the soundtrack and the quality visual design. The game can be very hard, but I was always having fun shooting all the enemies. If you like these types of games, then I would recommend you check this one out.